Hi, welcome to Gen 3, where Gen Z takes questions from 3 generations. We're going to start with our questions from a younger generation. I'm Adley Van Soest, and I'm 21 years old. And with me in the studio today are Cadence Cook, who's 18, and Liam Sherrill, who's 19. Our first question today is actually in the form of an audio recording, so let's take a listen.
Do you not do work?
What do you mean by that?
Because my cousin Weston, he does TikTok and it does not look like he's doing work.
I love that. That's so cute.
For context, this is my cousin talking, and she's talking about my brother who does TikTok videos. But to answer your question, unfortunately, yes, I do a lot of work. I think it depends, though. I don't know about you guys. I think it depends on the department that you're in. I have a major and a minor, and so I feel like the combination can be kind of brutal sometimes, depending on which classes I'm in that semester. But I think there's also just a lot of breaks, depending on the classes that you're taking, to have fun too. So that's the nice balance about college. But I don't know, would you guys agree?
Yeah, and if you're doing something that you're passionate about, I'm a media communication major, I'm making short films for my homework and stuff, and that's something that I love to do. So it's whatever the saying is about if you love what you're doing, you'll never work a day in your life or whatever. It is work, but it's also it's really fun.
Yeah, I think too, because being a freshman, I'm media communications as well, and so my first semester was all media communications classes, and so it was very much projects, and so you're having a lot of fun doing it. And then when you have to do your general ed, you're okay, there's a lot of reading involved, you have to stay on top of it. So yeah, as much as I want to say we don't do work, we definitely have lots of work.
Yeah, the reading especially.
Yeah.
Yep. It can definitely be brutal. All right, our next question is also going to be an audio clip. Let's go ahead and check it out.
It's hard to be away from your mommy and daddy.
Would it be hard to be away from me?
Yeah.
Oh, I love
my
that.
Heartstrings.
I'll take this one.
Yeah,
I think, especially, like I said, being a freshman, I think it's really difficult the first semester because you're already going out and you have to feed yourself 3 times a day. And normally, I think some people have their parents do that. You are what are we having for dinner? And instead it's oh, this is my job now, which I think is just, it is hard to be away from mommy and daddy. But I think it makes it better that when you come back home, for Christmas break, you're oh my gosh, you appreciate them so much more, I think. I mean, I feel it's definitely, it's a good adjustment. It's a good growing period, but yeah, it's really hard sometimes.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think that also depending on what your university experience looks like, the people here can kind of become family for you. And that's probably not true of every experience, but I think luckily at a university where there's just fewer people, I became really close with a lot of the people in my dorm and kind of in my classes really quickly freshman year. But that said, that's never going to replace mom and dad. And so the first definitely few months are quite the adjustment, I think.
The first few months were definitely really hard. It got easier as it went along, but and not just my mom and dad, but I have a younger brother who's really close in age to me, and I miss him so much. I had a bulletin board with a bunch of pictures of my family and my brother and stuff. Yeah. And for the first 2 months, I couldn't look at the pictures because I would cry. I would miss my family so much. But it got easier, and I met people, and now I get to visit them, and it's so special. It gets easier.
Did you, I don't know if you had this too, but I almost had this guilt of being the older sibling and leaving my younger siblings behind.
For sure. Yeah, that was so hard.
I know, it's sad.
Yeah, and he, not to get too deep into it, but I was starting my freshman year of college, and he was starting his freshman year of high school.
Oh my
so
gosh.
It was we were in the same place, but different. And it was he's going to high school and I don't get to see him on his first day or whatever. That was really hard.
Yeah, I think being the youngest for myself, my family, I'm the last one, so they're don't go, don't do it. I think they would want me to stay, but yeah, it's definitely hard because you're growing up, and my sister is a junior, and so she went first, and so it was weird because she was what are you doing at home, because I don't ever see you, what's new in life. Yeah, so it's definitely the communication between family, it's like you're doing a long distance relationship with them. Yeah.
That's such a funny way to put it. It's so true. You have to just like find a new balance and like a different way to talk to them. All right, our final question is also not an audio clip. It's just text, but I'm going to read it for you. Is making friends easier or harder in college? Liam, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, I think it was easier in college. I had like a really small group of friends in high school, and my friend group has become much bigger since going to college. I think one thing that like really helped is having a major, like being in this group of classes. Like all my classes are with the same people, and they're interested in like at least one of the things that I'm interested in, like media communication. And so that made things really easy. And then also like, this is specific to the college that we're at, but like we go to a Christian campus where like we have that in common with a lot of people. I think it ended up being a lot easier. Oh, and one more thing, I also, actually I lost my train of thought. Nope, the end.
That's okay. I completely agree with you there. I feel like sometimes the content can be harder and like the assignments are maybe lengthier, but in college it's really nice because you're like studying the things that you're passionate about, that you want to be there to learn, and so in a sense it is a little bit easier to manage.
Next up, we're on the segment 2 of 3. We're going to hear questions from our peer group, college students. I'm Cadence Cook, and I'm 18, and here's our next question. Pull it up. Okay. Do you really think a degree is going to be beneficial in your future career, or do you feel it is something you have to do because everyone is getting one? What do you guys think?
Honestly, that's such an interesting question because I feel like I was told my whole life to just get a degree, and it like doesn't necessarily matter what it's in, but that a degree like looks better on applications. It puts you in front of certain applicants. But you know, the longer I've been in college, I feel like I've learned about so many different people that kind of like plant something for themselves, and like entrepreneurship and you know whatever else that looks like, and just build something from the ground up. And I think that's like a unique way to be successful in life as well. So for me, I'm getting a degree because I don't know how to learn the things on my own that I want to know, but I don't think that's necessarily the case for everybody.
Yeah, I think in like a creative field like we're in, like it's not super easy, but it's manageable to do on your own, like to learn it online. Like a lot of the skills that we're learning, you could, with enough effort, like learn via like YouTube and stuff. But also it's really good to be in a professional environment where we have access to a studio where we can learn these skills together from trained professionals. And also like the degree helps, like in the end, like having a piece of paper that says like this person knows what they're doing is gonna make getting a job easier than me saying like I know what I'm doing.
I YouTubed it.
Yeah.
That's very true. I think too the hard thing is like we all fall in line with like when you graduate, the first thing you want to do is like announce where you're going to college. Like everyone does the senior photos with the sweatshirt. So I think it's hard because it is like a societal norm to go to college, but I think where you go to college really matters too, because you get the degree there, and it depends on like if you go to more of a science college versus like a private Christian school, they all look very different. And so I think that like getting a degree, like you said, it's very important for like walking into a career that you're like, I actually know what I'm doing because I have a degree to back it up. But instead, you know, some people are like, oh, I've learned from, you know, online classes, and either way is great. But I think it's so important to learn to get a degree, and it means a lot in the long run for sure.
Yeah.
Our next question is in the form of an audio file. Let's take a listen.
How do you balance social life and school at the same time while being a college student?
That's a hard one.
That's funny.
That's a really hard one.
It's funny because at first you don't. I remember being a freshman and being in a dorm full of people in the same boat as me, and everybody's like just so excited to like get to know each other, and everybody has FOMO. And so I remember I'd stay up until like 3 a.m. most nights because my social life was more prioritized than my grades, unfortunately. And it took honestly like a solid 2 years to figure out a good balance. So you never really figure it out if you're me, but I think you just kind of learn to like what's the most important to you.
Yeah, no, I think right now I've had a solid balance of like going to bed at like 12 o'clock at night. It's not horrible, but it's still like you still want to have both because you don't want to like do isolating in your room and studying or like going out with friends all the time. So there really is a balance. And like you said, it takes a while to figure it out, you know?
Yeah, I think it's just like my personality, but I definitely feel like it's like week by week. I'm either like social or I'm
Yep.
doing college.
Yeah.
And I'll like have like a full week where I'm like hanging out with my friends, going to the movies, like doing all this stuff, and then a full week where I'm like, nobody text me, I need to do my work right now. Like,
Yeah.
But I think that's not probably the most common situation. I think that's just maybe how I operate.
Yeah, you're more disciplined than I am. That's awesome.
So for our last segment today, we're going to hear questions from a generation older than us. I'm Liam Sherrill. I'm 19, and here's our question. This one is not audio. It's just written. Do you think you'll ever be able to get away from social media pressures?
I hope so.
Yeah.
I feel like the pressure keeps intensifying, honestly, as we get older. So I don't know that I can really necessarily answer that. I hope so. I think it's definitely hard to grow up in a generation that emphasizes like your presence on social media, and also so many things are based around your social media. Like when people are researching you for a job, everything that you've ever posted comes up, and so there's pressure in like that kind of way, which leans more beneficial, and then there's the negative kind. So
Yeah.
I think it's hard because like my question is, how does it get worse? You know, like we've come up with so many different apps that are like different forms of social media, so I feel like it could go the opposite direction. I think even for myself, I deleted TikTok and now I can't get it back. And so it's like, honestly, it's freeing for me because I'm not scrolling all the time. And I don't know really what other people are doing besides what they're posting on Instagram, you know?
Yeah. I really hope that someday I can get away from social media pressures. Right now, I'm like really trying to limit my screen time. I have like a 45-minute limit on Instagram, and it's really hard.
yeah, wow.
And I feel like I'm not connected with people. Like the goal is that I will stop just like scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. But like then by putting that limit, like I'm cutting myself off from like people that like I don't know outside of social media, like people that I've met from like a different city, where it's like if I got off Instagram completely, which like I would like to do, like I wouldn't know them anymore, like at all. Like I would completely lose contact. So like social media pressures, it's hard. I do want to get off, but I
also don't.
I probably will never escape it.
Yeah, that's true.
Our next question comes in the form of an audio file. So we're going to take a listen.
What is the one story you will be telling your grandchildren about the crazy thing that you did while you were a student at Point Loma?
Wow.
That's such a good question. I love the way he articulated that.
Yeah.
Yep.
I feel like
I feel like he has a story to tell by the way he said it. He was like, do you guys have one? I would say I don't have like any crazy stories, but I would say the memories you make with just like going to Pizookie night on Tuesdays with your friends is just like, you will tell your kids like, don't miss out on life, because it's so fun to live it when you learn to live it. And so I think that even just starting out here at Point Loma, I'm so grateful that there is memories to continue to be made, because I've heard so many people that are like, oh, my freshman year, it was crazy, and you're going to like remember it and look back and you're going to love it. And so, yeah, I think there's a lot more stories to come. That's for sure.
That's awesome. That reminds me of my freshman year. We kind of started like a dorm war, like a prank war. Ooh. And we stole all the ping pong tables from every single dorm and collected them in our like communal space. And we got punished for a week. We got our kitchen taken away. Wow. And then we also like cut the shower curtains of the opposite dorm, and it was pretty sorry to the RAs.
Yeah,
wow. They had to deal with a lot, but that's probably what I'll tell my grandkids. I'll say don't do that.
I feel like I don't have anything like crazy. Like I'm a pretty chill guy. I don't do anything wild, but like I think you make a good point of like the biggest things are like the like spontaneous things that I did. Like for me, I think currently what I would tell my grandkids is like, I really love this show Invincible. It's also a comic. And I saw on Instagram that they were doing like a viewing, like an early viewing of a upcoming episode at like a theater in LA, and there was a Q&A with like the creator, and I texted my roommates and I was like, can we go to this? And then we like skipped classes and drove to LA for the day.
That's awesome.
And then like I got like my comic signed by the creator, and like it was so cool. And it was like that kind of stuff, just
Yeah,
like saying
fun.
like, hey, let's just do this. Let's like
Yeah.
not go to our classes
right.
and
Yeah.
just go do something fun.
Spontaneity.
That's
yeah.
what it is. Yeah.
So good.
Love that.
Yeah. I'll also probably tell my grandkids. My friends and I one day just up and went skydiving instead of going to class one day. So
Wow.
that's
What?
another. College is fun.
Yeah, college is cool.
Do some crazy things.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thanks for joining us on Gen 3, where we take questions from a generation younger than us, a generation older than us, and our generation. I'm Liam Sherrill, and I've been joined today by Adley Vansos and Cadence Cook. If you have a question for us, drop a comment below, and don't forget to subscribe to Point TV to catch us next time.